Holy shit. What in the world did we just witness in Madison Square Garden? A 30-point comeback. One of the greatest comebacks, if not the greatest comebacks, in NBA playoff history, in sports history. The New York Knicks are up 3-1 going back to San Antonio. A catastrophic collapse for the San Antonio Spurs. The experience, or should I say, the imbalance of experience between the Knicks and the Spurs showing itself in the second half of this game. I don't even know where to start, but we're going to try and break this down. We're going to try and react to just a stunning victory, collapse, whatever you want to call it. Everything from Brunson's performance to the turnovers from the San Antonio Spurs to De'Aaron Fox's decision to not dribble the clock out with 8 seconds left and you up by 1. Just a ridiculous game. And I'm going to try. Stay with me here as we try and react live here on a Wednesday night, almost Thursday morning, to a unbelievable ups and down, but a game that the San Antonio Spurs were up 30 in and could not come away. So without further ado, let's dive right in to a live reaction here to one of the greatest NBA final games of all time. What's up, everybody, and welcome in to the Your Celtics Source podcast on a Wednesday night, late here on the East Coast, almost Thursday morning. And I'm not really sure where to begin on this. We'll dive into what happened down the stretch of this game. We'll dive into the chaos that ensued in the final 30 seconds of this game. But the bottom line is, the San Antonio Spurs had a chance to tie this series up at 2 apiece. They were going to be the favorites coming out of this game. I had an intro prepared where I was going to be like, oh no, what has happened to Madison Square Garden? What has happened to the Knicks? We have a huge problems. But once again, Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter, it does not matter how bad he is for 3.5 quarters. When it comes down to winning time, he just time and time again gets the job done. And that play, we're going to dive into the final possession there where OG Anunoby is the game hero. I'll break that down in a second. But I think we start at the beginning. We have to start and build the story up of how that 30-point lead came to be and then disappeared within a matter of a quarter and a half. Listen, the Spurs were burning the Knicks from 3 in the first half. They could not miss, shooting 60% from 3 in those first 2 quarters. They finished the game 17 of 43, so 40% from 3 to finish the game. So that just shows the horrific drop-off that they have in that second half. We'll get to that. They have 106 total points in this game after having, I believe, upwards of 70 to end the first half. So just a abysmal second half scoring from the San Antonio Spurs. But listen, they got contributions from plenty of guys, right? Devin Vassell chipped in 18 points. You got De'Aaron Fox, 4 of 9 from 3. He showed up. Dylan Harper, he was 3 of 6 from 3. So you got everybody to show up, but they just weren't able to hold it for 48 minutes. They just could not hold it for more than 24 minutes. the lead started to slip away possession by possession. It was a 25-point game. Then it was a 20-point game. Down to 15 to end the third quarter. And then the Knicks just kept rolling. And the San Antonio Spurs had no answer. They could not make a shot. The only thing keeping them alive was the free throws in this game. Right? And I'm going to dive into that in just a second. Before we do that, right? This game could have easily been swung in the first minute of this game when Karl-Anthony Towns picks up his second foul within like a minute into the game for a sort of a hooking foul on Victor Wembanyama. Personally, I thought that was a no-call opportunity, a play that they could have just let go for both sides. Originally, it was called a foul on Wemby. They overturned it to a foul on Karl-Anthony Towns. Right, the Spurs use a early challenge. They free up the fouls on Victor Wembanyama. Right, later in the game, there's a play where Mitchell Robinson fully runs Victor Wembanyama into the ground. Flagrant foul. Right, this sort of speaks to the sort of controversy around what happened in Game 3 where Wemby doesn't pick up the flagrant foul, and then Mitchell Robinson does a pretty similar thing to Wemby and does pick up the flagrant foul. Both of those, in my opinion, should have been flagrant. Only one of them was called, but in the end, it doesn't matter because the Knicks find a way to come away with this victory. Right? I mean, immediately everybody's pointing at Game 3, right? How you don't call that one on Wemby, right? And listen, Wemby picked up a flagrant foul later in this game, I believe, as well. He should have been suspended for Game 5. He should have had that flagrant foul in Game 3, had another flagrant foul in Game 4 here. He should be suspended for Game 5. But as it is, doesn't really matter. I mean, the Knicks would win that game easily if Wemby wasn't there. And that would be already it's a turning point in the series with the Knicks getting this home court advantage back. But to not have Wemby in Game 5, that would take a lot of the air out of it for the Spurs side of it, right? Because the Spurs still have a chance to come back in this series, right? They're not down 3-0. They got a win under their belt. Should have had this win. They dominated for, two and a half quarters, really. They outscored the Knicks by 30, right? The Spurs, you can look at this game and you can look and say you should be up 3. You should be the team that should be up 3-1 in this series. But it comes down to the little plays at the end of a game. All these games have been, close scoring. There's been only one game that was a double-digit victory for the Knicks in Game 1. Every game has been decided by 1 or 2 points. I think the margin of victory or the separation between all 4 games is like 8 points or something like that. Really, really close. Right? But the lack of experience, the just awful decisions from even veteran guys like De'Aaron Fox late into this game make the difference, right? Listen, Wemby didn't have his best offensive performance, only 24 points, has 13 rebounds, 3 blocks, 5 offensive rebounds, plays 44 minutes. That's a lot for him, and he looked fine. He didn't look like he was out of breath or whatever. The Spurs couldn't hit shots. They didn't run a lot of great offense in that second half. That definitely contributed to their poor shooting, but they definitely had makeable shots. They still were penetrating, good, driving kicks, getting open shots. Just nobody could knock it down. And as the crowd came back into it, the nerves started to kick up for the Spurs. And, funny how in Game 3, right, the Knicks were the ones sort of battling through that crowd energy. The Spurs in the second half could not overcome their poor shooting. The crowd, just going wild with every shot that Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks made to cut that lead back. It was a ruckus inside of that arena, and the Spurs just could not handle those nerves and the adrenaline and, possession by possession, you're slipping, you're losing this lead, and you can't hold on, and eventually you just fully let go of the grasp, and the Knicks come all the way back for a ridiculous, I'll keep saying it, just a ridiculous win. Similar to that game in the conference finals against the Cavs, right? And the one good thing I know is that, I know the Spurs are not going to quit for the final 3 games like the Cavs did, right? The Cavs were so eager to get on vacation. Then the Spurs, they'll be playing basketball whether they win or lose. All these guys are 21, 22 years old, right? So I don't have a issue or a worry that the Spurs are going to quit. They're going to battle in game 4 or 5 rather, right? They're going to try and get this series to 7 games, and it's going to have to go 7 games now. But for the New York Knicks, for the first time since 1973, they have a lead in a series and a chance to close it out in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Listen, I already said it, a couple times, right? But the Spurs, they had plenty of offense in the first half, right? Even though they only finished with 106 points, right? And they have that abysmal second half scoring. You had enough to hold the Knicks because the Knicks were, they were only had 43 points at halftime. They scored 60 points in the second half, just about, right? They were, or actually more, right? They scored more than 60 points in that second half. That just cannot happen. The Knicks, should I say the Spurs defense fell apart late into this game. And listen, a lot of that came from live ball turnovers. And we're going to get to the final 30 seconds in just a second, right? But a lot of these came from turnovers and bad decisions from the Spurs. But they also, were doing too much trapping of Jalen Brunson. And Jalen Brunson, rightfully, we saw it in Game 3 where he was just trying to force the issue and try and go heliocentric Jalen Brunson iso ball, right? It did not work. The Spurs come away with the victory. In this game, he says, okay, I'm not going to be the guy to beat you in the fourth quarter. Listen, he had great opportunities and great shots, right? He still destroyed the Spurs in crunch time. But in that comeback, before we got to crunch time, it was him passing it up, getting it to an open shooter, OG Anunoby, knocking down huge threes. And that final 3 that OG Anunoby hit, I think it was like a minute or so left in the game. Everybody in the whole world knew that was going in. You could just feel it, the energy, the desperation that the Spurs were playing with to try and hold on to their narrow lead. And they go and trap Jalen Brunson. No need to do that. Let Jalen Brunson go one-on-one against a talented defensive player, whether it's Dylan Harper or Stephon Castle. You have plenty of defense to stop Jalen Brunson. But instead, you run a trap. It's a wide open, swing and kick to the corner. And OG Anunoby, just ice cold for the dagger before he has the ultimate dagger, which we'll get to in 1 second. Right? But, 11 turnovers for the Spurs in that second half, right? Empty possessions, just throwing the shot up to the backboard, hoping that it would go in or hoping you would get a back offensive rebound. Victor Wembanyama missed a lot of easy bunnies around the rim. He got some putbacks. Wemby's just going to have to get better at finishing plays. That's just the one or two things that he needs to work on in the offseason, right? Just got to get better around the rim, finishing, passes that are, almost impossible for anybody else to score successfully on, right? They are, 12, 13 feet above the backboard sometimes, right? Wemby's the only guy in the world that has the possibility of scoring that. But that being said, we're holding Wemby to different expectations. He's got to be able to get those lobs and score them on one single motion, right? Coming down with it, then having, whether it's Mitchell Robinson or Karl Anthony Towns right in your face to defend that, just completely takes away that advantage of being 7-5. Once you come down with it, you don't have that advantage anymore. And multiple times he missed a bunny, and he sometimes got the tip back, but it just took too much effort, too much time to do that. Bad possessions from the Spurs. No clear decision on what they were going to do with their offense each possession. They were running out loose. Mitch Johnson didn't really call that many timeouts to try and settle them down, run an actual play. Everybody looked lost out there for the San Antonio Spurs. Free throws did keep them alive. They had 20 free throws, made 17 of 20. Two of them were actually, disastrous misses from Wemby in that fourth quarter with like a minute or so left. We'll get to that in 1 second. But Jalen Brunson, right? We've talked about it a little bit before. He does finish the game with 36 points, 7 assists, right? 12 of 25 field goals, which is actually his best shooting percentage of the series. And it results in that perfect orchestration of the offense in the second half and that comeback, right? I mean, Brunson's mid-range jumper with like a minute 22 seconds left, right, gave the New York Knicks their first lead since the 2 minutes into the. I don't even know if they had a lead in this game until that time. Maybe they had it within the first possessions of the game, but like just a horrific collapse from the Spurs, right? OG Anunoby was huge for the New York Knicks. 33 points. 10 of 15 on field goals. Ridiculous efficient night. All coming in the second half for the most part. 7 of 9 from three-pointers. And of course, the putback dunk that's going to go down in history. Just a marvelous night from OG Anunoby. You just knew in that fourth quarter he was going to make every open three that he got, and he did. 6 of 6 at the line as well, right? He kept New York alive during the avalanche from the Spurs in that second half, or in that first half rather, right? And listen, the Knicks come out in the second quarter, or in the second half rather, and they put in their like third string center. I don't even know who he is. Some guy from Germany that the broadcast was talking about, right? They put in all their sort of scrubs to start the second half and see if they can get some momentum. And then the Stars come back in, and slowly but surely they just chip away. And right now, I mean, I don't even know what you say about the Spurs, right? Like, I mean, you can't even be mad at them. Like they just blew the easiest game to win in NBA history. They just basically forfeited the game. Like, I don't even know what you say to them, right? But at last, let's talk about what really happened on this final possession, right? And listen, I think we have to start with, where this game ends, right? And it starts with a Josh Hart miss, right? Or actually, rather, I think it starts with the missed free throws from Victor Wembanyama with 1:22 left on the shot clock, right? This is where it all turns south for the San Antonio Spurs. So he misses these free throws. The Knicks go down, right? And they actually don't get a good shot. Jalen Brunson misses the mid-range shot. It's sort of a loose ball bouncing around. And you get this down to, I believe this is 30 seconds, right? Or sorry. Jalen Brunson misses the shot. De'Aaron Fox is bringing the ball up, and he throws it away. Terrible pass. Josh Hart gets the steal. That's right. Josh Hart coming down, and he smokes the dunk. It's a wide open dunk. He can't decide whether he wants to lay it in or dunk it, and he sort of instead goes up in between and tries to just sort of toss it into the hoop, and he doesn't jump high enough, misses the dunk, catastrophic dunk, and then you're at like 30 or so seconds, and what happens here is just a miserable, I don't know whether it's a blunder, a freeze in the brain from De'Aaron Fox. I really just don't know what happens here, right? You know, the or sorry, rather actually sorry, the Spurs get an offensive rebound here. I'm missing this part from right. They get an offensive rebound. And Mitchell Robinson fouls Stephon Castle. Stephon Castle, with ice in his veins, knocks down the free throws to retake the 1-point lead. That's what happens, right? And now there's 30 seconds left, right? And I believe the Knicks, I forget which shot the Knicks got. Maybe this is the play where Josh Hart misses the bunny. Whatever. There's like 10 seconds left, something like that. And De'Aaron Fox gets a backcourt pass or something, or he gets free. That's right. He gets the deflection on the loose shot, right? And he gets out in transition. And there's like 8 seconds left. And instead of trying to just dribble the clock out while the Knicks try and come foul you, he tries to go up and rush a shot and try and put the Knicks, or the Spurs up 3 rather, right? Instead of just holding on to the ball and taking your free throws. The Knicks don't foul De'Aaron Fox. He smokes the layup that he had no chance of scoring anyway. Just a terrible, terrible decision. Just hold on to the ball. Just make it impossible for the Knicks to not foul you, right? Let them foul you. Make your both free throws, and now there's like 8 seconds left, and the worst case scenario is you're going to overtime, because even if they hit a 3, it's a tie game. You're still going to have a couple seconds to get a shot maybe, right? But instead, you smoke the layup. The Knicks call timeout, and they get a possession out of the timeout where Jalen Brunson, with like 3 seconds left, shoots a 26.3 three-pointer, right? Not a great shot, right? It's a deep 3, a desperation shot from Jalen Brunson down 1. But the San Antonio Spurs, with 1.7 seconds left, fail to get to box out. They let OG Anunoby come right on in and get the putback dunk to go down in history. Just a blunder from De'Aaron Fox on the offensive end, a inability to box out, and the San Antonio Spurs just had the worst collapse of all time. The 1.7 seconds that the Spurs have to try and put up a shot, right? Maybe there was a missed call there where they should have given De'Aaron Fox the foul. I think it was Karl-Anthony Towns. They're never going to call it in that situation. They're never going to decide a game like that. You got to know that. Not an actual possession. They tried to throw it up to Wemby. I thought they should have just went for a 3, because they both had Cat and Robinson in the game to protect the paint. They were never going to get a good, clean lob for Wemby. I thought that was a bad decision to try and go for that. They should have just tried and get a 3 for a Stephon Castle or a Dylan Harper. It's going to be a better shot, even though they're not maybe the best 3-point shooters. But just I'm out of words to describe what happened tonight. It was just a horrific, horrific collapse. That being said, what else is there to talk about in this game, right? Game 5 is Saturday. We'll be live for that game again. We will probably have a podcast episode coming out. I'm trying to think, because the World Cup's starting on Friday for the U.S. We'll be watching that game on my other channel and all that stuff. We'll be reacting to those games, so I'll be watching that game. So probably, here's what's probably going to happen. I'll probably record a podcast episode tomorrow afternoon, Thursday afternoon sometime. It'll come out Friday morning, where we'll be reacting to we'll react to this game a little bit more. We'll try and preview the other, or to Game 5, right? We'll try and see if the Spurs have a chance of coming back. There'll probably be some more Celtics news. There's been some Celtics news rolling around about, obviously we've already sort of tackled the Jalen Brown aspect of that, but there's been some news circulating about maybe reunion with the Time Lord in Williams. Is he going to come back? That could be an option, right? Because the Celtics have to improve at the center rotation. Next week, we'll do some draft preview on who the Celtics might draft at the 27th, I believe that is. Their 27th pick in the first round. So we'll do that next week. And then we'll be back live for Game 5 of the NBA Finals on Saturday night. On your way out, please give a like to this video, subscribe. We will be uploading this video to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast immediately after I'm done here. So you can check that out in audio format, share it with friends and families. And once again, the New York Knicks come all the way back to just take a commanding and almost certainly their first NBA Finals victory. And I'll never say, it's over, because the Spurs are a young, relentless team. They're going to put up a fight. But the New York Knicks have a chance to make history on the backs of Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns. And I do think at this point, I don't think Cat's going to win the MVP at this point. I do think it's Jalen Brunson's to lose. Maybe OG Anunoby. He was just that good in this game and has been good for quite some time now, despite Jalen Brunson's performance and the Spurs win in Game 3. But once again, the San Antonio Spurs just throw this series away with a chance to stun the New York Knicks. After going down 2-0, they come back, have the chance to tie it 2-2 apiece. And that's just an unfortunate, you got to learn from your experiences. The Spurs are only going to get better after this series, right? You got to lose first before you can win, and that's why everybody was doubting this team. This team had the chance to sort of defy the odds, to break history, but it's looking like they are going to come up short like almost every team before them has. So without further ado, we're going to end it right there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully the Spurs can win in Game 6. But until next time, we'll see you guys Saturday. Good night.